Hey everyone, and welcome to the Patchwork Tusk YouTube channel. My name is Gio, also known as Headless Hammerhead, and I am going to be doing a time-lapse video here of a dragon that I'm drawing for a third-party supplement for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which we are doing as Phase 2 and Demos Infinitum Publishing. It is going to include over 100 unique dragon breeds, and this is one of them. This is the Yoû Huzi. It is an Asian-inspired dragon that it's basically what we call a dragoon. It's a very serpentine dragon, like many Asian dragons are. It has no wings and only has arms and no legs. And it is a bearded dragon, which is really fun to draw. This massive beard and the whiskers going everywhere. I love that kind of stuff. So I started with a rough, a rough sketch, or initial sketch, really. The rough was way rough. I did not show that on here. It was initial sketch. I finished it off at the beginning of this video with a heavier pencil. Then I outline it with a heavy ink brush, and then I do the details with liner pens and brushes of different weights, just so that it's not flat. I use different line weights for different parts of the drawing. So you're gonna see this is probably what takes the longest in the whole process, is doing all the detailed lines and switching up the pens and the brushes and filling those in. Then I'll take a thicker brush and fill in the heavier shadow areas where the darkest shadows would fall on this drawing, and I fill those in with a heavy pen brush. This is definitely the longest part of the process, doing all these details with lining them. Well, first, sketching them with pencil, doing the final sketch in pencil, and then lining it with ink and pens and brushes. So anyway, then I'll take a heavy brush pen, fill in the darker parts of the shadows. So where the darkest shadows would fall, I fill those in with a heavier brush pen. So this dragon, the Yoû Huzi, is very Chinese inspired. So it's got the beard and the hair. And I also got a ton of inspiration. Last year we went to the Wiener Museum of Decorative Arts in Hollywood, Florida. We live in Florida, and they have a really cool permanent collection of artifacts, but they also had a dragon exhibit going on last year when we went, which was really cool. So I got to see a lot of really neat artifacts with tons of different types of dragons, which when we have a book coming out with 100+ dragon breeds, it really helped. But a lot of these were Asian artifacts as well, so I got a lot of cool Asian dragon inspiration as well, and that's definitely shown in this drawing. I'm sure you can see it. So once I'm done shading the darkest shadows with the black brush pen, then I'll take the markers. I'll take some grayscale markers and start doing some shading, and this is what really brings it to life. And mainly because grayscale markers there's two types. They range from a darkness of 0.5, and then it goes up to 1, and then by 1 each step above that up to 9. 10 would be black. But there's two types. There's the warm grayscale markers, and then there's the cool grayscale markers. And it's very subtle, but it helps bring the drawing to life, because generally when you have something that's in a shadow, you think of it as being more cool versus something that's being hit by light that tends to be more warm. So you'll see here where I use the gray, the cools, which have a bluish tint, grayscale markers for the darker parts of the shadows, and then in the lighter parts of the shadows I'll use the warm grayscale markers, and those have a slightly reddish tint. And this helps too when I do the watercolor. If I use watercolor mixed with a lot of water so it's less opaque, and go over all of this shading, it works really well with the watercolors in this way, and especially with these hues of the cools and the warms, because it's very, very subtle, and somebody who's looking at the piece doesn't even know it. Generally, they don't really look for those kinds of things, but it affects them while they're viewing the piece in a very positive way, and they end up liking the piece a lot more because it just makes more sense, and it brings the piece to life in a really neat way. So once all of that's done, then I take it over to my work desk, because I like to work with watercolors on a flat surface so that I can control the water much better. So I fill the darker areas with black and dark watercolors, so everything blends in really nicely. And with this one, I also wanted to throw in a little bit of color on the background, so I used red, and then I used an acrylic marker for the eyes to give it a neon orange glow. Came out really neat, you'll see at the end. But rather than color it in, I like how it came out with just the grayscale and the red and the orange. You let me know what you think. I'm going to end up obviously scanning this and then finishing it off digitally for the book. But as far as a final piece on canvas, I think this looks really cool. You let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, check out, please, my Headless Hammerhead comics YouTube channel if you're into tabletop role-playing games or comic books. That's we just do a lot of really deep discussions, me and my brother. We have some great discussions regarding tabletop role-playing games and comics and other cool stuff. So thank you so much for watching and for supporting my channel. I'll see you on the next one.